have multiple partners doing the same thing in the same water. So will we ever be able to precisely keep these fish apart? Probably not, but these are some of the steps that we want to go through. Also what we want to do too, and this will be a survey over time, is starting in 2013, is we want to do spawning surveys on parts of the BD that overlap where we're stocking, to get a sense of what kind of fish numbers we have utilizing that habitat. When we go back and do that after the stocking of fish in the same area, it should be able to tell the story, right? We should be able to correlate stocking of 31,000 fish with the survey of 31 fish before that, right? That's another method to judge our effectiveness. And you know, with all stocking, you know, you want to make sure that what we're doing and the time we're expending and the money is worth it, and have the ability to monitor that and test its effectiveness. So overall, that's kind of one piece of the puzzle on where we want to go. I think last year when we met the multiple groups at Sydenham Sportsman, we spoke of the sauging in general, and what we wanted to do there is test the effectiveness of stocking overall, stocking versus natural regeneration. So I spoke of this effectiveness monitoring, how it is applied directly to our stocking, but also overall what we'd like to do, again with partners' help and a little bit more planning, is we want to be able to do this on a larger scale, not just specifically to the BD sauging and the Chatsworth stocking, is the effectiveness of the fish waste. In part, we're doing that this spring by very soon, in the next couple of weeks, the placement of cameras besides Denny's at Walkerton and 2 cameras at Maple Hill on both the fish waste. Spawning surveys and biomass studies, more on a whole, to test the effectiveness of everyone's efforts, and ultimately everything, as we know, has a carrying capacity, right? The deer yard, the Saugeen River, there's only so much that you can pack into a space, right? That space can be Saugeen or Cedar Swamp. It's really no different. So at the end, collectively, I think where we want to be is what's happening on the Saugeen, how much stocking is necessary. Is this a system that's sustaining on natural regen, or does it require stocking to maintain you know, the caliber of fishing you guys are used to? These are things that we want to tease out. And I'm going to get Dave to talk a little bit about the creel census on the lower Saugeen, and how that also might work into this plan on sustainability, and how necessary is stocking. Is it necessary? We don't know, right? We have to work through this process to see how successful this sauging is going to be, because it's a whole new cat, right? Like, we're opening up fish waste for the first time, and I'm not sure how long, right? If maybe never have Rainbow's had access to all this prime real estate. So who knows what kind of profound effect that might have on natural rehabilitation, and what that might do to our runs. I guess we'll have to wait and see, right? But I think we're on the beginning of something here. We're certainly not at the end, and it'll be interesting to see, you know, where that goes and how we all make out. So.
Have you guys got any target number that you'd like the run to be? If, you know, if you generally get the idea of a run, like how many fish you'd like to see, like what the river can hold?
Yeah, I don't know. Dave's probably a better one to answer that. I'm not sure how you would.
Do you want me to speak?
Yeah, you go ahead and take that.
I don't really have a good answer for you. I think the one thing that this kind of fits into, you know, there's some folks around the table like Dennis and Al have been involved with the Fisheries Management Zone Councils that we facilitate out of our office, and we're in the early stages of developing a stocking plan, and I think, you know, that's a really good salient question for that process that, you know, that our office is kind of heading up is, you know, what kind of catch per unit effort at a fishway would we deem as reasonable, or what would we like to see? I don't think we're well positioned to be able to come up with an absolute number, because that means you have to have a really good census of habitat. Some of the habitat's suitable for steelhead production, some isn't. We don't really have a good idea of that. We don't have good hard data for this watershed to be able to tie in what habitat capacity is versus how many fish it could support. So I don't know if we really have a good answer for you, but we're certainly going to do our best to try and, you know, come up with some, you know, targets, and, you know, we're trying to run a good, open, transparent process out of our office, and, you know, kind of work collectively with the clubs who are engaged to try and come up with some targets, and, you know, perhaps a catch per unit effort at the fishway might be a good way to gauge, you know, a set target. We would like to shoot for this. What kind of proportions would we like to see between hatchery fish and wild fish, that kind of thing. So maybe didn't give you a true answer to your question, but at least try and give you a sense of process, how we might get to some targets.
Yeah, just, you know, you say a number, let's say 100,000 fish ran, well, in the river, you know.
Yeah,
It'll tell you.
that's a very valid question.
Yeah, you know, I guess it would, but
Eventually.
you're gonna lose a whole bunch of things in getting too many fish. You're
Yeah.
gonna lose the same amount probably with nothing.
How much food's in the bead? If you stock on top of it, if your natural reproduction's already there.
Well,
You know what I mean?
This is one of the things,
And
right?
there's like we've got lots of, you know, those are all good questions, and we've kind of got the same questions, and, you know, there is kind of a growing body of literature out there, but a lot of it's from the West Coast that does suggest that in at least some instances, stocking over top of natural reproduction does nothing but replace wild fish with hatchery fish at all the added cost you have to run a hatchery program. I'm not saying that's happening here, but we just kind of have to be mindful of that kind of effect that can happen and has happened elsewhere. I don't really know where we're at here, and, you know, I don't have any fish rate return information in my short slide deck. I'm kind of an add-on to our shtick here tonight, but I do have some fin clip versus non-fin clipped information in one of my slides, and, you know, there's a pretty clear signal there from Michigan in past years, Lake Huron Fishing Club fish in recent years. So there certainly are hatchery fish returning from current stocking efforts in the clubs. So. Go ahead.
Does the MNR have any access to old data? Because when this thing first started back in the 70s, Dr. Dodge and myself and some other people walked that system. He did a process thing on that. Do you guys have that access to that information?
That's something I couldn't put my hands on right away. We might be able to find that. And we've got fishway data back as far as it's available, so that's into the 80s. In terms of red count info, I don't think I've seen that.
Is that, are we talking the top part of the segment?
Yeah, because that's when we started the upwelling boxes there.
Right.
And that was on the beat?
Yep.
That
Right
was
at,
up at
right at
Highway
Orchard
6.
Park.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Jody,
Yeah.
how confident are you that Maple Hill will pass smolts on the way down to the,
Good, that's something I wanted to talk about and I didn't bring it up. Yeah, so here's, part of that process as explained earlier is the cameras on both of the fishways at Maple Hill. So Maple Hill access is a little hard, so perhaps many of you have not seen it. So Maple Hill has that existing Danielle fishway on the generation side of the river, and then our new fishway on the other side of the river. So in addition to that, it also has what was constructed at the same time as the fishway is called a smolt bypass. So that smolt bypass, if you can visualize the water coming down, the feed for the turbines, the mill race, and right before you come to the trash rack there's a bypass that bypasses the generation part of it, and dumps into to the Saugeen close to the mouth of the Daniel Fishway. So what we're going to do in the summer is we're going to switch the cameras, so we keep a camera on the Daniel and a camera on the smolt bypass, so which should be pretty telling for smolt migration. But past that, all I can tell you, Al, on that is my personal experience. So smolting is kind of it's an elapsed thing. It can vary greatly on the summer and on the conditions. Usually smolting occurs either a combination of a temperature, freshet, some way, an easy method for fish to get from, you know, their 2-year-old habitat into Lake Huron, right? So it's usually a phenomenon with a freshet or some sort of large rain event that would force them down the system. So we have that in place basically to record that. But myself, I'm, because of that, smolts don't have a lot of opportunity to get around Maple Hill if the conditions are right. I think during a freshet what happens is the water comes down, largely goes over the dam, in this case the new Fishway. Probably a lot of smolting occurs in that area. But I'm there probably, if I'm not there every week from the spring to the fall, I'm there every week and a half. And what I do with that Daniel Fishway is we close it down with boards, we pop the cover, get down in it, and we walk through it just to clean out any debris. And we need that functioning to pass fish both up and down. So the summer months are just as crucial as the spring. You got to get fish up, but you also got to get fish down, right? If you don't get that freshet, the phenomenon of smolting still occurs. It's probably going to occur through the Daniel Fishway and the smolt bypass. So now comes the answer is, I've been in that tunnel an awful lot over the last few years, and when you shut that thing down, all I can tell you is there's rainbow trout smolt in it. That's I can't give a population number or what percentage are using it. All I can tell you is I know they're using it, and